It all started like a normal Tuesday afternoon. My dad had just wrapped up a long shift and was heading home, still in his uniform, still wearing his badge. Because, yeah, my dad is the sheriff. But as he pulled into our neighborhood, something strange happened. A man in a security vest, holding a clipboard and pretending to be part of the HOA, flagged him down. At first it seemed like maybe he was giving out parking warnings or something harmless. But things escalated fast. This guy started yelling, accusing my dad of violating community rules, whatever that means. And before my dad could even get a word in, the guy reached into the car and tried to drag him out. Yep, drag, out of his own vehicle. Right in front of our neighbors, right in front of me. Now here's the thing, this HOA cop had no idea who he was messing with. No idea that the man he just put his hands on was the actual sheriff of the county. And what happened next? Let's just say, things took a wild turn no one expected. Stick around, because you won't believe what this fake cop tried to do after he realized the truth, and how my dad handled it like a pro. So, here's where things start getting weird. This fake HOA guy wasn't just aggressive, he acted like he ran the whole neighborhood. He had a fake badge clipped to his belt, a walkie-talkie that wasn't even on, and a printed-out list of violations that looked like it was made in Microsoft Word. He was walking around like he was some kind of authority figure, shouting at people about lawn heights and parking angles. Nobody had ever seen him before, not once, and we've lived here for over a decade. My dad stayed calm, even though the guy had just laid hands on him. He stepped out of the car slowly, trying to de-escalate, while asking basic questions like, "Who are you with?" and "Where's your ID?" The man kept dodging the questions, saying things like, "Don't worry about it," or "You'll get a fine in the mail." I could tell something was off. His truck didn't even have plates, just some magnetic sticker slapped on the side with Neighborhood Compliance Patrol written in crooked letters. At this point, neighbors were starting to come outside, watching the whole thing unfold. My dad hadn't said he was the sheriff yet. He was giving this guy a chance to walk away. But the fake cop wasn't backing down. In fact, he was just getting started. The longer this guy stood there, the more confident he got, like he thought he was in total control. He started calling out random violations to people nearby, pointing at someone's trash bins and telling another neighbor her mailbox was not up to code. It was like he was trying to start something with everyone. My dad, still calm but watching closely, kept pressing him for identification. But the guy just talked louder, trying to drown him out. Then, out of nowhere, he pulled out a notepad and said he was writing my dad a citation for being combative and refusing HOA orders. Which made zero sense, especially because, again, our HOA doesn't even have a compliance officer like that. That's when I started recording. I had this weird feeling something was going to go down, and I didn't want anyone twisting the story later. Meanwhile, one of our neighbors, Mrs. Langley, who's lived here even longer than we have, walked up and asked him point-blank who he worked for. He snapped at her, told her to mind her business, and flashed that fake badge again. That's when people really started getting uncomfortable. You could feel a shift. The neighborhood was waking up to the fact that something was very wrong. And still, my dad hadn't revealed who he was. Not yet. At this point, the entire street had eyes on what was happening. Phones were out, neighbors were whispering, and this fake HOA cop just kept doubling down like he was on some power trip. My dad stayed firm, but didn't raise his voice once. He was watching, waiting, like he already knew this guy was about to slip up in a big way. The tension was thick. You could feel something was about to go down, but nobody knew exactly what. Then the guy made his boldest move yet. He reached into his vest and pulled out a laminated compliance warrant, which, for the record, is not a real thing, and said he was going to detain my dad until neighborhood law enforcement arrived. That's when a few neighbors started yelling at him, telling him he was out of line. But instead of backing off, he turned and shouted at them, claiming they were interfering with official HOA business. That's when it clicked for a lot of people. This wasn't just some overzealous rule enforcer. This guy was pretending to be someone he absolutely wasn't. My dad stepped forward, real calm, and said, "You sure you want to keep going with this?" And the guy just smirked and said, "You don't know who you're dealing with." Oh, but he was so wrong. Right after the guy said that, "You don't know who you're dealing with," there was this long pause. My dad looked him dead in the eye and didn't say a word. It was like he was giving him one last chance to back down. But instead, the fake HOA cop pulled out zip ties from his back pocket. I kid you not. He actually tried to put my dad under some kind of fake citizen's arrest, waving that ridiculous warrant around like it meant something. That's when people really started freaking out. A few neighbors stepped closer, but my dad motioned for them to stay back. And just as it felt like the situation couldn't get any more surreal, a real police cruiser slowly rolled onto the street. Not sirens, not lights, just that quiet, creeping entrance that meant someone had called it in. But here's the twist: the officer who stepped out wasn't just some rookie. It was one of my dad's longtime deputies. The second he saw my dad, still calm but clearly being threatened, his whole posture changed. He walked up with authority, eyes locked on the fake cop. Now the imposter was stuck, mid-lie, mid-act, and surrounded. But even then, he tried to bluff his way through it, claiming he had jurisdiction and that everything was legal. No one was buying it anymore, but he still didn't know who exactly he was standing in front of. Not yet. The deputy walked straight up to the fake cop and said, "Sir, I'm going to need to see some real ID now." The guy froze. You could see the panic starting to crack through that smug attitude. He stuttered, started reaching into his pocket, then hesitated. That's when my dad finally spoke up. Calm, steady, but with that edge in his voice that means business. He looked the guy in the eye and said, "You really should have checked who you were messing with. I'm Sheriff Thomas." The look on the guy's face, pure shock. His mouth opened like he wanted to say something, but nothing came out. And before he could make a move, the deputy stepped in and gently but firmly cuffed him. Turns out, this guy wasn't just pretending to be HOA security. He had been going around to different neighborhoods pulling the same stunt. Fake fines, fake citations, even trying to collect cash from people on the spot. But here's a twist no one saw coming. When they ran his name, it turned out he used to work in private security, legit, but got fired for impersonating law enforcement. And guess who filed the complaint that got him booted years ago? Yep, my dad. But here's the twist no one saw coming. When they ran his name, it turned out he used to work in private security, legit, but got fired for impersonating law enforcement. And guess who filed the complaint that got him booted years ago? Yep, my dad. He didn't just pick the wrong neighborhood. He picked the one guy who already knew exactly who he was. After the arrest, everything finally made sense. The fake HOA cop had been running a small-time scam, showing up in random neighborhoods dressed like authority, hoping no one would question him. He just didn't count on crossing paths with the one person who not only had the authority to stop him, but the history to recognize him. My dad never gloated or made a scene. He just gave his deputy a nod, then turned to the neighbors and said, "Everything's fine now. Go enjoy your afternoon." The neighborhood buzzed for days after that. People were still shocked that someone could pull something like this off in broad daylight. But it was also a reminder, just because someone acts like they have power doesn't mean they do. Always ask questions. Always stay alert. As for my dad, he went right back to being the quiet guy on the block who waves at everyone on his way home. No big speeches, no bragging, just doing what he's always done, protecting people, even when they don't know they need it. So yeah, the fake cop picked the wrong car, the wrong house, and definitely the wrong sheriff. And that's a story none of us on that street will ever forget.